I'm Nikki McDonald, Content Director at O'Reilly Media, and I'm here today with Danny Quilton, CTO and co-founder of Capacitas. Hi Danny, how are you?
Hey Nikki, good, thanks.
Okay, so you've been around, your company has, for 15 years. Mm-hmm. How in that time has software changed the building and managing of it?
I think, well, two things really. I think first, adoption of the cloud. That's made a huge difference to us in the realm of capacity planning. And secondly, delivery methods for delivering software. So the adoption of agile and these continuous methods has had a pronounced effect on how we manage performance for those software deliveries.
So what are the challenges you've experienced working with the continuous delivery methods?
I think there's a number of different challenges there. First off, we're talking, one of our guys is having a talk tomorrow with John Pillar, head of software engineering at Arcadia. And John totally buys into performance and understands the need of it. But he says, look, in my continuous world, you guys can't slow us down. So that's the first thing. Anything we do mustn't slow down the rate of delivery. Secondly, the other thing which is a challenge is the test windows we have. So when we're doing performance testing in a continuous context, we have very small windows in which to run those tests. In the old days, we had the luxury of having a 4 or an 8-hour test. We just can't do that anymore. And then a final challenge there around is the scale of environment. So in these continuous contexts, we often work in low scale test environments, so they're not reflective of production, and therefore it's impossible to test to production like volumes.
I have a question about testing, but before I do that, I want to ask a question I should have asked from the beginning, which is, for those who aren't familiar with your company, what does your company do? Okay,
so Capacitas, we're specialists in capacity and performance management. We're a consulting company, and we deliver our consultancy with some software that we've developed and some processes and methodologies we've honed over the last 15 years.
Okay, so now my questions then are about your methodologies. So what techniques do you use to ensure that you get a reliable performance when the testing environment is perhaps not production quality?
Yeah, so there's a framework we've developed that takes any technology that's under test and exposes 16 key performance and capacity metrics that describe the performance capacity of that system. So that's the first thing. So it's abstracting that out from the system, and then we're measuring those KPIs when we're doing the testing. And then we've got some software that has some smart analytics and smart pattern matching that looks in a very short test on a low scale environment, looks for unusual patterns. We call them performance anti-patterns. So it looks for these unusual patterns that are symptomatic of a performance bug. And that helps us to detect performance bugs on these low scale environments on these very short test windows.
So you mentioned earlier that you do a lot of work with companies helping them move to the cloud. How does performance capacity planning change in the cloud?
Yeah, that's interesting. So, in the old world, 15 years ago, we were capacity planning and companies, big organizations had very large data centers with tens of thousands of servers. In the new world, and in that old world, the question was, well, when do we need to invest in more servers? When do we need to invest in a new data center to house those servers? In the new world with cloud, it's subtly different. We're getting asked by CIOs and CFOs, well, what should my budget be for next year on cloud OpEx? So it's really important now for organizations, not necessarily to plan their capacity, but to plan their spend on capacity in the cloud. And giving CIOs and CFOs that visibility is enormously powerful for those guys.
So what other challenges do people face when they're moving to the cloud, and what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, it's the cloud's a wonderful set of technologies and enables people to move faster. It does, though, bring with it a risk of uncontrolled or unmanaged spend. So we do find organisations that are moving very quickly and deploying into the cloud at very fast rates. But once that is deployed, there is the level of capacity sizing is not optimal, and therefore you can get a lot of unplanned or unforeseen expenditure in the cloud. So really the number one thing I would say is, for when you're in that development and test cycle, to make sure you're testing the efficiency of that software. What you want to do is prevent inefficient software, or what we would call bloated software, from ending up in production in the cloud, because inefficient software carries a cost.
More so than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been involved with a few engagements, one particular engagement where we helped optimize some software that was already delivered in the cloud. And in that case, we were delivering, by optimizing the software, we were delivering tens of millions of dollars in savings in cloud OpEx.
Wow, that's got to be a real worry for companies that, that are considering moving to it and are very new to it, might not plan to streamline their software, make it efficient enough to save space.
That's right. And I think in the old world, I guess people who were building the software were separate to the people who were running the software. So as we move more and more to DevOps, I think the people who are building the software are going to be responsible for running this software in the cloud, and also be responsible for the budgets associated with the capacity in the cloud. So hopefully as we move more and more towards DevOps, we'll see these best practices being adopted.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think one's just going to... DevOps is definitely becoming, I think, a more popular... I don't even know what you call it, because it's not really a methodology, but a way of working, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And now that the cloud is becoming, more popular, I see those two kind of driving each other to be just like the way to do business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So this is your first Velocity conference. What do you think so far?
I think it's great. I think the atmosphere is really good. It's very collegiate and very much a community. So it's that works well for us. We come to these conferences to learn what people are doing in the industry, and that helps to shape the direction of our software and our services. And I think it's been a really good experience. People are willing to share experiences, and that's the best way we can all learn.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Nikki.